Welcome back everyone to the Hello World Guide. This is another episode of the Python Pygame game creation series, and in this video we are going to get started creating our first game, which is going to be Pong. So as you probably already know, Pong is a very basic and simple game, and it should allow us to learn a lot while keeping things not complicated and very simple. So in order to start, you can see I've got like this empty program with an empty window that does nothing, and we learned how to learn the basics of Pygame and how to draw stuff in the last video. And in this video we are going to get started with Pong and start to draw our players. But the first thing we need to know is that currently you can see we are using these variables here, and we should probably, instead of hard coding any values here, we should probably have different kinds of constants to kind of help things keep neat and organized. So we are going to create a variable called screen width, which I'm going to set to 800, and then screen height, which also going to set to 800. I'm actually going to make the width 1200 to so because I don't really want the screen to be exactly square. And we are going to set the display mode using screen width and screen height. Now another thing we are going to do is, now we need to draw our players. So in here we'll say draw player 1 and draw player 2. Now in order to draw this, we are going to use pygame.draw.rect, and we are going to pass it our screen. And then for the color, we are going to just pass in a pale yellow color for the first player. And for the actual rectangle, I'm going to go up here and create another constant called player width, which is going to represent the actual width of the player's saddle, the actual how it looks. We are going to have the width of that, and we are going to set player width and height respectively to 40 and 200. And then we are going to for the position of X, I'm going to pass the player width because I don't want it to be exactly attached to the left side of the screen. We want it to have a little bit of gap, so we are going to pass in player width here. Now for the Y position, I want it to be exactly in the center, so I'm going to pass in screen height divided by 2 minus player height divided by 2. The reason we need to do this is because it's pretty simple that we want our player height to be because it takes in the left corner, so we want it to be exactly in the center. So we need to subtract the half the player height, because by default this is representing the top left corner, not the center, the top left corner. So now what we are going to do is, we are going to set these two. I'm going to move it to the separate line so that you can see it better. And then we are going to, for the X and Y size, we are just going to pass in player width and player height. Now I'm going to copy and paste this for player 2, and in here we are going to change the color to kind of a bluish color. And then we are going to, for the X, we are going to subtract the screen width minus the player width by 2 again. The reason for that is this is because we want it to be the other side of the screen. And this player width here, it is because mainly because we want it to be exactly, we want it to be not exactly in the center. We want it to kind of have a little bit of a gap. We don't want it to exactly be at the boundary, and this is because we want our players X position to be according to the center and not according to the top left. So we need to subtract this just like we did in the height. Now for the height, we're going to leave it at that, and everything else is going to stay like that. I'm going to change the color to kind of a cyan color. And now let's go and run python game.py, and what you should see is that we do get two players on the left and right side of the screen, and they appear to be quite awesome. By the way, we don't really need to divide this by 2 here. The reason for that is because it is the top left corner, so we need to kind of subtract the whole of it. And yeah, that you can see looks a lot more symmetric. Now we have got 2 players here, and we are using this for the Y. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to change this a bit. I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to create 2 variable here. One is going to be called player 1 position, which I am going to set player 1 position, which we are going to set equal to this that we have got here. I'm going to basically copy the Y thing that we have got here, because we only allow movement on the Y axis, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this here. This is going to represent the Y position of our player 1, and we don't really need the X position at all. And now we are going to also create another one called player 2 position, which we are going to set to essentially the same thing. Now for the first one, we are going to pass our player 1 position, so we are going to say player 1 position here. When we are drawing the rectangle on the y-axis, we are going to do that, and we don't really need to put this on the next line anymore. And for this, we are going to also pass in the player 2 position actually here. And yes, if we go ahead and run that, you can see that we are still able to get these where we want them to be. Now what we should be able to do is we should be able to we are going to learn how to take input and change this player 1 and player 2 position, so that we can allow our players to move up and down. So how are we gonna do that? Now for handling input, what we are going to do is I'm going to go ahead and first of all we are going to get all of the keys that are being pressed. For this we are going to use the function pygame.key.getPressed, which is going to return it basically has like an array of booleans, and we can use that to get what key is pressed and what key is not pressed. So for the index we will use pygame.key_w and pygame.k_, these are basically all of the different keys that can exist in Pygame, and like these are the codes for them, and we can use these to get like the index in the keys and use that to kind of correctly obtain what we need to do, because we can use that to, it will return true if the key is being pressed and return false if it's not. If the up W key is being pressed, we are going to subtract 1 from the player position, because subtracting means that we are moving up and addition means we are moving down. And we are going to copy and paste this 4 times, and 2 are going to be for player 2 and 2 are for going to be player 1, and we are going to add when we want to move down. For player 2 we are going to have keys up and down, and for player 1 we are going to have keys W and S for movement, and here we'll need to add. Now this might seem like it's going to work, however it will actually be incorrect behavior. The reason for that is because this will result in happening is that it will cause the player to move faster on faster frame rates and slower on slower frame rates. In order to achieve the same speed regardless of whatever the computer's capability is, we want to use something called delta time. For that, what we will have to do is we'll have to go up here, and I'm going to create a variable called clock, which we are going to set to a new instance of the class clock in pygame.time module. So we are going to say pygame.time.clock, and we are going to use this clock function to create a variable called dt for delta time, which is going to, we are going to just call clock.tick, and this will return the number of milliseconds since the last call. Now traditionally the delta time is represented in seconds, so we'll convert this to a float and divide that by 1000, and then we'll basically multiply our everything that we are doing with the delta time, and this will basically ensure that whatever the frame rate is, we always move at the same speed. And one might be too small here, so we are going to replace this with a variable called speed, and I'm going to go up here and declare speed to be a constant which is equal to 1000, for example. And yeah, that is pretty much all we need to do. It's going to take care of everything for us, and we should be able to move the player and do everything correctly. So yeah, we have got all of this. Let's go here, and let me just clear the console, and let's go ahead and run this game. So you can see I can press W and S to kind of move my player, and 1000 seems a bit too fast. Let's change that to 750, for example. Let's change that to 750, and 750 should be enough. And of course you can tweak the speed to your own liking, and this seems about right to me. It's up to you, you can choose differently, and of course up and down we can use to move the other player, and W and S can be used to move this player, and that works pretty awesome. So yeah guys, this is pretty much it for this video, and in this video we learned how to handle input and do movement for the player. And in the next video we are going to first of all go ahead and kind of try to learn how to organize our code a bit better, and then we are going to learn how to add different kind of interesting things in our game. So we are going to do those stuff in the next video. Make sure to stay tuned for that, and make sure to like and subscribe as well, and I'll see you in the next one, and share this video with other people as well, and bye.